Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you for a special edition. It's Matador Mob Mailbag edition time as we near the end of what has been a busy week with some additions to consider for Texas Tech via the transfer portal and, of course, a whole lot of movement otherwise as far as it relates to trying to get settled in with two new coordinators. So let's not waste any time. Want to begin the conversation. We had a couple of questions in on the most recent name that is on the Texas Tech radar as far as commitments are concerned. And that's another defensive back, right? Which, let's see here, Chris and also Monty were asking about the early, what seems like defensive back focus, and another one added in the form recently of Dante Balfour.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any like rhyme or reason on like focusing on. I think they're just evaluating these players, and if there's enough that fits there that checks all the boxes, then they, and it just so happened you've got two DBs of your first three portal commitments. But yeah, Dante Balfour is a corner. I would say that he's either going to start opposite of Mo Horn next year or compete to start next to Mo Horn next year. He's a 6'2" corner. He started out at North Carolina and then transferred to Charlotte. I think he played like 23, 24 games for Charlotte the last couple of years. Very productive, and he's got some size and length to him and a lot of production and very durable and all that. So this was a need. I don't think, though, that you're done taking DBs. I don't know whether that's more corner, more safety. I would guess tilted more toward corner. But, there's a lot of DBs that have kind of already visited or in the midst of a visit or set to visit and all those things. So, be paying attention there. But, you're starting to address your secondary, and we're still not exactly sure who's going to coach it either. So that's also interesting. Yeah.
Another layer to the offseason challenge. Oh, by the way, the offseason hadn't arrived yet. There's still a bowl game to be played. I got to remind myself of that sometimes.
I will toss out this little nugget. There is, you've got some people that are tied to Darcel McBath that are going to come visit that maybe played for him previously, and all that. So I think that is an interesting tidbit. So we'll just kind of see what all that means.
Perfect segue, because the next question was from Charles, and there's a couple centering around this from different Matador mobsters out there. But this one actually does mention Darcel McBath, talking about who was on that list as far as auditioning for staff jobs under these new coordinators. And I think particularly interested maybe on some of those within, like McBath. Are there any names that stand out to you? Is it Darcel alone, or do you think there's more than one maybe there?
Yeah, I think the offensive staff is largely in place. They've added Garrett McGuire, and he's going to kind of take over running back duties, and then Kenny Perry will solely focus on. But what that means is by adding a full-time running backs coach, it means that you're not going to go – means that Coach Wood isn't missing now two spots. He's going to have to coach a position, and you're replacing – you're going to have to go find somebody that coaches DBs, not splitting it into corners and safeties, because you're just limited to 10 assistants. That's unless you make another move, if there is another move there. So, because who's left, and I'm guessing who's coaching in the bowl game, you still have Coach Fitch, Coach Ayu, Coach Bookbinder, and that's it. And then I think Darcel has kind of emerged in trying to help with the secondary and all those things. And then there's obviously Coach Wood, who is like observing and trying to learn and trying to help with the portal and all those things, but he's not going to be involved in the actual bowl game stuff. I think just trying to help when he can, but you're still a bit short on that side. But I think that all of those guys theoretically, I guess, would be auditioning, but I don't know how it will be. It's all about how is it organized? If I'm Coach Wood, what do I feel like I need? I need more attention here, less attention there. I've got this covered. So I don't know that. I just know that he has coached linebackers the last several years. But this is also a guy that heck, he was a wide receiver growing up, and now he's coached all defense. So we'll see. I don't know if you'll get any final. I mean, this may play out into 2025 on kind of what all this looks like as far as how your staff will be set up. I think right now the focus is portal and the focus is getting through the bowl game. And then maybe you start to sort through that. Although they may know what they're doing, maybe the rest of us won't until the bowl game comes and goes and you get into early part of 2025.
All right. Thank you for that question. This one on a Matador Club front from a Matador mobster, simpatico groups. Do we have an idea where the Matador Club would rank in the conference as far as allotment and or payouts? That one's from Milo. Do you know what kind of company they keep in the conference? And I would even add maybe outside of that across the nation.
As far as like, okay, be more specific. Like, are we talking about like what is the pool of money, or what are some of these guys getting?
Milo's not in the room with me. I'll just tell you that. So I'm just going to have to kind of go off the cuff here myself.
But that's kind of what he was hinting at.
He says allotment / payout. So, and I know these numbers are all shrouded in great mystery. But do you have a feel for maybe who's among haves or have-nots within the league? Maybe who's looking at trouble when the new revenue sharing era kicks in, or who is on the safe side of the line, or anything related to those things in the future?
Well, as it relates to the Big 12, you are definitely a have. I think your in-state institutions all are, with the exception of Houston, are very much in the have category. Houston has basically told you they wanted to keep Shield Wood, could not do it. I think you're paying him $500,000 more, paid him another $400+ to buy him out. You've paid him, some moving expenses. I mean, you went above and beyond, and then you gave him a 3-year deal, which he gets now security, and there's some raises, and you're into the 1.2, 1.3 range as far as what his salary goes. As far as paying, what rev share looks like, or what the Matador Club can do in the meantime until rev share rules kick in, I think you're probably in really good shape. And I think we'll start to see that play out in the coming days. And we've already seen a little bit. I mean, you've grabbed 2 FCS All-Americans, whether it be preseason or whatever, and certainly. I think you're in a good spot. I do find it interesting. I want to mention this to you too, that I think you are in a. I watched a lot of the Bill Belichick stuff, the North Carolina introduction. There's a lot being made of his hire, and there's a lot of contract details that are out there, and they indicate they're going to pay their team $13 million a year next year. That's, I don't want to say a lot lower, but that's definitely lower by some, and not just a minor than compared to what Texas Tech, I think, plans on paying theirs. Now, maybe North Carolina is going to allocate more to men's basketball than Texas Tech will. I don't know, but I did find that interesting because it's not just a fraction lower. It was noticeable. I was like, well, that's interesting. So, but you're in this window right now where the Matador Club can be very active and involved and kind of still operate under the old set of rules. And I think you are. I mean, I don't want to say you're going for it, but also don't want to say you're being irresponsible. I think you've got a war chest, but I think you're not just throwing it around like crazy. You're depending on evaluations, and you're not the only one out there that's got money to spend on players. I mean, that's just like there's competition, and there needs to be a culture aspect to this. There needs to be a positional fit. Maybe, depending on how many years you have left to play, like an eligibility situation or your injury situation previously or whatever. It's all up for debate, but yeah, you're in a good spot. I mean, I don't want to attach a dollar figure to it because I don't know, but you hear stuff, but I don't know and I think what's funny is
First, today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Never sweat buying tickets to your favorite event again with Gametime. It's always a breeze using the Gametime app where you're going to find the best last minute deals. And I love being able to scout out a view from any seat before pulling the trigger. And of course, you're always doing it at the lowest price guaranteed. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it begins, which means you can finish off that final brat, that final beer at your own pace at the tailgate, because Gametime is the place to find last minute seats to any event. Gametime gives you the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets, but not just fast, also secure and simple to use. So right now, download the Gametime app and create an account and use our promo code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem our code Locked On College for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today for last minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed.
And I think what's funny is you may go into this thing with a budget that's in pencil, because as you get like, well, we've gotten through this deal and we still don't have this, or this guy, we love him, but it's going to take a little bit more. I think everybody involved is willing to kind of do what they need to make. It's just all about putting the puzzle together. So just because you have a budget doesn't mean that you won't come in under it or not willing to go over it. That's what you are allowed to do in this time frame right now until rev share kicks in.
Budget's appropriate for a lot of things. I don't know if for transfer portal or NIL purposes it really would come to mind all that much. I just want, before we move on from this subject, kind of in general, several ask about this. It seems like week after week. Among them, Ed asked this time around, just for clarification's sake, when the revenue sharing starts, NIL still exists as an added layer to that for those that can land those kind of deals, correct? And I know there's talk about stringent policing and marketplace policing, which I'm a little skeptical of, but that still exists. NIL monetization outside of revenue sharing. Is that right?
Yes. I don't know if we have, I think most are along the lines of thinking that it's got to be a lot. It can't be pay for play. It's got to be more reined in. It's got to be, but I'm not sold that if I own a restaurant and I want somebody to come sign autographs, I don't care what some clearinghouse thinks. If it's worth this much money to me, then this is what I'm going to give this individual. This is America, right?
This is a $500,000 appearance to me. So here you go, son.
Yeah, I don't care that may not be, somebody else's market value. So I'm not real clear there. And I don't know if we all know the answer to that. People will push the envelope as pressure rises.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's going to try to dabble in that trade, I think. And like some schools have been doing all along, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So
everybody that can afford to.
Right. Yeah. The old bag man.
That's right. The duffel bag boys, mount up.
Yeah. So I don't know if we're there yet, but I think you're kind of very out in the open trying to do it under the current state of rules before the new rules kick in. You're trying to be very out in the open, and the Matador Club, the collective that's in place, is trying to take its shot, shoot its shot, however you want to phrase that right now, because this applies to men's basketball. This applies to really anything you can get done via the portal between now and I think April the 7th is what the deadline would be, to where all monies under the previous rules would need to be paid. And then after that, it's this time frame where, okay, after this, now you need to be under the salary cap and all these things, unless you do the NIL stuff. So maybe we'll start seeing more and more about that at that time. But
gotcha.
Because you're still, each school is going to be on the hook for 20 plus, and I think some schools are going to be able to make that payment, and some schools are saying we're not willing to go that much right now. We're only going to go 10, 15. We're not going to do the 20, 20 and a half, 21. We're not going to do the full share. That's what I think it drew Kirby's ire a bit when TCU kind of went out of their way to say, this was several months ago, like, we're going to be a full-fledged, full revenue share program and all that, like they were, reinventing fire. And I think Kirby was like, we're like, yeah, we said this like 2 months ago. So what else you got, kind of deal. But yeah, I think, and I don't know if every school in the Big 12 will be in a position to do that. I've heard some of the schools on the East Coast, even like in the ACC, will not be able to, or aren't going to want to be a full go there. So, well, I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Thank you for the question, Ed. This question from Jason on another subject, to the hardwood. Curious just for any JT Toppin update, as we've had a few days away from men's basketball, but back on the floor soon, and back on the floor in the Big 12 very soon, coming up New Year's Eve, right?
Yeah, I mean, I unless there's some sort of setback, I don't anticipate him missing any conference games or anything because of what you're dealing with now. I mean, he could in fact be back Monday night and Saturday, and away we go. I echo what I said last when we were asked about this, that he was walking around, no noticeable limp, seems fine. He's with the team. There's not a brace or anything going on, and so I think you'll be fine. And if it's not versus Oral Roberts, or if it's not versus Lamar, it will definitely be versus UCF and going forward. I mean, I don't think there's any question. Grant has gone out of his way to say we don't want to screw around with guys like not being right whenever we trot them out there. We don't want to like let something linger or drag on or cause a bit of a setback. We want to put them out there when they're, and I'm just going off of the reference that he gave us whenever it was the Christian Anderson and Elijah Hawkins, to start the season, when that was kind of a bit of a delayed debut for both players, because he's like, I just don't want to, he's like, if it was a Big 12 game right now, they would play, and they could play.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet. And we don't want to do that to them just yet.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you for that question. This one from Daniel, asking about basically portal vibes. How do you manage them? He was comparing kind of some players that have arrived via the portal in the past, and kind of focusing in on the offensive line. Mentioned Zambrano, one of the additions so far. Is asking about Zambrano and some other top offensive line targets. Are they the same? Are they similar? Are they different than some of those you've landed in the past? Guys like Rusty Stats or Cole Spencer, or some of these that have come and gone. He's basically asking, should I wait and see, or can I get excited yet about this go round and some of those that you've landed and some you got your eye on?
All you will be able to do is gauge, how PFF graded them, how they fit, who else wanted them, all that stuff. That's all you're going to really have. But the thing about offensive line is that it's not about the 5 most talented individuals. It's about the 5 most talented individuals you can put out there that play well together. That's really what it comes down to. So they'll need to be a component of a wait and see for sure. But I mean, Hunter Zambrano was on. If you buy into this stuff, and if you're looking for reasons to be excited or buy in, I mean, he was one of the top offensive linemen based on a variety of lists that were provided out there. And I think that we talked about his position flex, and he's got some different things that he can do for you. And I don't even know if you know right now what he will be for you, but he's going to be something and yeah. I think that that's what you're trying to sort through, but you need some more, at least 2 more, to I think that are able to step right in and play. And then maybe even more than that. I just think that depends on, it's prospect or player by player specific. Okay, this is a no-brainer, or this is a depth piece. I mean, there's things in between, and so we'll see what this looks like. But this is the position I'm focused on the trenches. I think you can get receivers. I don't doubt for 1 second that you will not be able to get really good DBs or receivers that could be very productive at this level. If you want to know ultimately how you do in this portal, grade it and judge it by what you do on the big people that you add. What edge player did you add? What interior defensive lineman did you add? And then what did you add on the offensive line? That's ultimately going to decide, that and quarterback health is ultimately going to decide where this thing goes next year, in my opinion. Because you can go get DBs and receivers. Those are going to be, I don't want to say easy to get, but there's so many more of them. There's just fewer big people out there, especially good ones.
Well, and everybody knows that's what what makes a football team go. So everybody wants them first on both sides of the line of scrimmage. You want the big people. Yeah. And if I can land some of those guys, we'll figure out the rest, right? You kind of figure I'll tailor some other things to them if I can just get that situation situated up front. All right. Thank you, Daniel, for that question. Cameron asking this question. Do we know if we are done with COVID eligibility yet? Are there any years remaining where we could see some of the bonus time still in play? Do we know, Chris? Because this has been one of the great mysteries to follow.
Yeah, no, there's a few guys still out there in college, I think, that are still dealing with this, or this, that are, 7th and 8th year guys or whatever, that COVID year does factor into their, like Cam Rising at Utah, for example. He could theoretically come back and play another year in college if he wanted to. I don't think Utah is where he would do that. He was the Utah quarterback this year. But yeah, I think you're almost to the end there. And I'll be honest, I think that one of the rules that I'm not going to be shocked at all if it doesn't get passed, you're kind of doing it anyway, and it's just dumb to me. But at some point, I think pretty soon, they're basically going to say, hey, you have 5 years to play college. Play all you want. The end. And we're not going to do this or that. And what it would eliminate is it's basically just eliminating that they can only play in 4 as a freshman. And then you have to, the other 8 games, but then they're allowed to play in a conference championship game or a bowl game, and that doesn't count toward it. Yeah. But they've talked a lot about, I just think with roster limits and not as many players available, I just think it's good for all parties. I just don't understand why that's any kind of negative. It just seems simple. It seems clean.
Yeah, for simplicity's sake, man.
Yeah,
I'd be all about it.
Instead of juggling it.
Well, it seems like more of a negative now to be in a situation where it kind of incentivizes in week 9 or whatever, trying to figure out if you want to sit this guy or pull this guy because he already has had his portion of a season, which just seems.
And I think what else it would do, like you would not have guys that would play these 4 games and then go, hey man, I'm not playing as much, so I'm just going to shut it down.
Very true. I think
like that whole game that's being played on every campus is like, whether they're faking an injury or whether they just walk in and be like, hey man, coach, I appreciate it. This isn't personal, but I'm just going to redshirt. I'm going to save my year this year. I mean, it just would be better for all parties, man. Just let everybody play all 5 years and all the games or whatever because there's enough injuries here where somebody's missing so much time. It would just be, so much cleaner for the NCAA standpoint, for the college's standpoint, for the player standpoint. So anyways, I agree. That's my thought.
Glad to hear that maybe that's something that'll be part of the future. Thank you for that question. This question from Nathan: what is a do not contact tag in the transfer portal? Does that mean he already knows where he's going? Doesn't want to be recruited? If so, if that was before he announced he was transferring, isn't that tampering? Nathan asks. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle all the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And right now, new customers can bet only $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL and a whole lot more, all in one place. So when you get a hunch, a gut instinct in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a gut feeling again, and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. This question from Nathan: what is a do not contact tag in the transfer portal? Does that mean he already knows where he's going? Doesn't want to be recruited? If so, if that was before he announced he was transferring, isn't that tampering? Nathan asks.
Yeah, I mean, I think at some level, you could probably accuse every school in the country of tampering or being tampered with. I just roll my eyes at it, and there's so many workarounds that everybody's doing, so it's impossible to police. It just is. So when they do put a no contact tag on there, it's because when they get into the portal, a lot of times as soon as they jump in and it becomes official, the phone just blows up, and it's like boom, boom, and then like it's just an onslaught. And so if somebody's like has an idea of where they want to go, then yeah, it's like, hey man, leave me alone, or give me some time to like ease into this process, whatever. But you have agents, handlers, trainers, all the above. These are the individuals that are out there in this space that are connecting dots to coaches and one program to the next. And hey, are you going to have a spot? Do you have a need? Hey, this school contacts said agent or whatever. Hey, man, is so-and-so thinking about, is he unhappy there? He's not getting to play as much as I'm sure he thought. I mean, whatever. All that is allowed to be yeah, that all is happening. I don't know what's allowed, what's not anymore. But yeah, do not contact, to your point. I think you tried to answer that very good. I think that's essentially what it means, but it does raise an eyebrow. Yeah.
The rules are made up. The points mean nothing. Just push the boundary until somebody tells you no, and then you step back for a moment, and then maybe you push her again. You know, kind of like it's always been done, I suppose. Thank you for that question. This question from Clayton, back to the Red Raiders. Cameron Valdez status. Do you have a feel for that and what the future holds? Clayton saying Jacoby Williams looks like the man, may hit the portal for another running back. Just curious about Valdez.
I don't think he, like, because you're unsure of what that injury situation looks like, I think that he could be in the mix. I don't think that you're trying to rid yourself of him or that he's been just promised anything when he comes back. But I think that the future of this running back position is Jacoby Williams and Cameron Dickey, along with whatever they would add in the portal. They are going to add a running back in the portal. That is a fact. They will add somebody that they feel like can play right away, that's got some age and experience to him. You're not going to go see them take some young person, or they want somebody that's played a year or three and it's got some size and all that, and that can kind of help out there, if not start and be part of a rotation, however you want to phrase it. And I think Coach Leftwich will use a lot of two-back sets at times. He talked about, we are going to run the ball here. We are balanced. I mean, I think he talked about a situation, I equated it to when we would talk about how Joey or Zach Kitley went from winning in Ames, Iowa a couple years ago, 14-10, and then the very next week they're winning 58-49 or whatever it was versus Oklahoma. They won a game in some weather, I think, in I think it was the state of Louisiana. I'm talking about Texas State, and Coach Leftwich said the weather was bad and all that. We ran the ball 60 times and we ran it for like 330 yards. That's what it took. That's what we're willing to do. We're going to be able to do whatever. So I say all that to offer up, you're going to need another running back. You're not just going to trot it out there with a questionable Cameron Valdez and then two true freshmen and then some walk-ons after that. You're going to go find somebody else that is part of a rotation, somebody that I think is, like I said, and we mentioned the USC running back. I mean, there's, we'll just kind of see what you end up with there.
All right. Thank you for that question. Appreciate you. Sam asked this one: out of all the players that Tech is involved with in the portal, which one do you want the most? Is it one of the two or three now that, depending upon when you're listening to this, has already been signed? Is there a name, Chris, you got that stands out to you, or maybe a big fish out there, or is it still more position-based that you're really looking at?
Yeah, you haven't filled either spot that I'm solely focused on, or I say mostly focused on. I'm really ready to see. You're involved with several experienced left tackles. That is, a big focus, but I'm also very curious about edge. And then I think in no other order, though, I'm more next in line would be like interior defensive lineman. But again, it's like I think you're going to be involved with a kicker. You're going to be involved with a quarterback. You're going to be involved with a running back. You still need a tight end. You got a long way to go here, man. I mean, this is, and you are in the midst of, and it really doesn't matter when somebody sees this or consumes this show. You're in like this visit window that is going to, whenever you see or hear this, it is going to be going on, and it's still going to have another week or 10 days of, I think, just a constant official visit going on, where guys are coming in and out of town, and it really is just not going to stop until, in my opinion, until you get around like December 21st, 22nd-ish. And I think once the Christmas gets, and then the team is going to leave for the bowl game on the 23rd, I think that's when, those visits will stop. But between now, I think you're trying to get them here as quickly as you can. And it just is kind of like you're trying to attack this grocery list, man. You're trying to shop, and you're trying to shop at the good store and all those things. So, but I'm ready to have left tackle, and I'm not saying that Hunter Zambrano can't be that. I don't think that's what he was brought in to do per se. If this is what how it ends up, I'm sure he can. But
they're still pursuing other left tackles.
Absolutely, I think you're aiming very high for left tackle, and I think as far as like available monies, I think you won't. You will do what you need to do there to make sure that your evaluations, your grades, your film, and the fit that it may offer up all meets it. So that's what. And then I think that you can say the same thing for a pressure player on the edge too. So there is a. I'll just say this: there is a. I mean, I've paid attention to a Big Ten edge player. I've paid attention to an ACC left tackle, but it's not like I'm like there's some options here, plural, and you definitely have some options, and some of it just comes down to don't like the vibe, or I just don't know if I'm going to buy into couldn't afford this one or that one, and there may become a time where like. This, because like I'll tell you, I listened to Sam Pittman talking about putting Arkansas's roster together, and they've had a mass exodus. Okay, and he basically told the media, he's Arkansas's head coach. He told the media, we just didn't value these players like they felt they were valued at, and so we've got so much money, and so we are going to choose to spend that money on maybe some difference makers as opposed to spreading it out and really going after depth. And his point was, we were a 6-6 football team. Like, so why are all of a sudden all these guys that we just had that helped us get to 6-6 worth all this money? So it's all about, you know what I mean? And because I think, like, would you rather pay, we'll just use a round number. Would you rather pay $800 if you had $1 million to buy a left tackle and an edge? Would you rather spend $800 on the left tackle and just $200 on the edge? Would you rather spend $600 or $400? I mean, all that depends on what else is out there for them and how you want to break that up. Is there a way to get both? But because I don't know if you have enough to go pay $1 million for each position. Maybe you do, but that's.
If the collective told me I had $1 million for a left tackle and an edge, I'd tell them, make sure you have modest expectations. I don't know if $1 million is going to get you very far with those two spots, but it's kind of crazy. I mean, talking about, doing what it takes to get the thing done is one thing, but recently hearing some of what it's taking as far as some of these numbers agreed to, kind of staggering. So be curious to see maybe what some of these land at.
And I don't know if Joey's ever really talked about this kinds of things publicly, but Sam Pittman was an open book. He didn't offer up numbers, but he just said, are the prices a bit higher than you would have thought? And he's like, he thought about it. He's like, yeah, like 4 or 5 times is more than what I thought. So, and he kept going out of his way to say, we've got money. But again, it's how do you choose to spend it? Look at the Dallas Cowboys, for example. I don't know, but I don't know if this is right or not. But you're going to spend, you've got I don't know. I think that salary cap number is around 250. But you're going to spend 60 on a QB, 30 on a receiver, and then who knows how much they're going to ultimately give up Micah Parsons. So you're going to have 3 players that could theoretically be locked into half of your salary cap. maybe that's good business. It seems to me that it's probably not, based on kind of what you're seeing the product on the field right now. Whereas some say we're just not going to do that. We're going to spread it out a bit more. We want depth. We want different ways to beat teams, and all that. So I'm just trying to give you an NFL analogy, but it's all about how you choose to spend the money.
Thank you for that question. Ryan asked this question: what's the biggest attribute that makes an O-lineman able to play all 5 positions? Is it measurables, athleticism, knowledge?
Yes, all the above. I think Caleb Rogers, this is why I think that he's going to get some NFL looks, and Caleb Rogers probably get drafted. There's been a lot of things that have been said about Caleb Rogers over the years, and some people feel like he's not this or he's not that. Other people feel like, oh, he is this or he is that. One thing that he is, though, is he is very athletic, and he will test well, and he's very versatile. We hear that, him say, I don't feel as comfortable on the left side, so he's kind of stayed at right, but plays the guard, plays the tackle. He is very bright. He took a lot of snaps at center in various practices throughout the last, year to 18 months. And I think that's what Hunter Zambrano would you would think too. He's got some athleticism to him. He's 6'5", 300. And sometimes like it is about measurables, and like you're not going to put a 6'3" dude at tackle. You're just not going to do it, or you're going to get killed. At least at this level, that may be what like somebody at Kennesaw State is going to do. They may trot out there a 6'3" tackle, but at this Power 4 level, you got to be at least 6'5", playing all one of the tackle spots, and then But yeah, I think athleticism and IQ. I think you nailed it. I think it was all that, but it's also. Some guys are left-handed, some guys are right-handed, some guys' brains work different. Like I just can't or don't feel as comfortable with my footwork there, my hand placement there, wax on, wax off, all that stuff. But you got to be, if you're going to be able to play all 5 spots, man. And then some dudes don't handle the snap very well. They just can't do it. It seems easy enough, but it just isn't natural to them. But it sounds like, Mr. Zambrano it checks all the boxes, so we'll see.
All right. Appreciate that question. Let's see. We can get a couple of more in here. Let's kick it to another subject. This mobster asking for Chris's thoughts on second half officiating in Fort Worth against the Aggies. I know this is a little bit of a throw. Probably feels like a lifetime ago that you were there watching a basketball game, but probably most Red Raiders have some thoughts on that. What are yours?
Yeah, I think some games I come away being very frustrated with the officiating. I think there was some calls that obviously either weren't made or didn't go your way. But it's hard for me to be too upset and like point to that because I think Wade Taylor got away with a few reputation calls at the end of this game. If you just want to call it what it is, I think he's been a guard that's been around a long time. I think some of these officials that have refereed not only Texas Tech but A&M multiple times, and I think did he earn those calls because of a career? Was he really fouled? Fair to ask aloud, but I guess my thing is it's hard for me to sit here and really point to that as much as I would in maybe other games when you turn it over 18 times to their 9.
Yeah,
that's what's hard for me to kind of. Stomach. Again, I'd still love to take a crack at those guys again with JT Toppin in the lineup.
No doubt.
I think you get a different result, but we'll see.
Maybe we get another crack down the road in a tournament of some sort if there's one available. Okay, let's wrap it up with this question from Aaron, kind of a 2-parter. One, just confirmation, though. Kenny Perry's remaining on staff in Lubbock.
Oh, yeah.
Correct? Okay.
Yeah.
We did hire a running backs coach, but we're not losing Kenny Perry.
Right. And I think Kenny Perry, he's proven to be one of the best special teams coaches in the last couple of years in the country. And I think that he's been nominated for assistant coach awards. I think Taj Brooks obviously factors into some of that. I think obviously Austin McNamara and Dre McCray, Gino Garcia. But Kenny does a really good job there. And there's a few plays that I'm sure they would love to have back, like that weird fake punt against Colorado that I think that they just that was a player kind of doing that. And then, then there was some issues in the Baylor game. But other than that, I think special teams was a huge plus in most of your games. A lot of the 2-point conversions and a lot of the, you weren't great at punter this year with Burgess, but I mean, it was just going to be hard to be as good as McNamara. And I thought your field goal kicker was just, from a college standpoint, about as automatic as you're going to get. I mean, whatever expecting. By the way, I'm not going to mention his name, but they're bringing in a kicker this weekend on an official visit from the portal. I hope we get to say his name. His name is fascinating to me.
That's all you're going to give us?
What a great, great name. It won't be hard to find. I'll just leave it there. But I hope, I hope he's. If you want to look it up while we're on the air, I'll tell you where.
I'm assuming you're talking about Duke Silver. I think he's going to be in town coming up this weekend. This second part from Aaron before we get out of here.
Okay.
Could you kind of describe when the program is looking for players in the portal? Is it almost exclusively a needs approach? Are there surprises in there that are just such good players or best available type players that they go for that? Or do they have to be a little more disciplined kind of in what they spread their powder around on?
Okay. And you're talking about how the school, how Joey, the personnel department.
Blanchard.
They have a list of needs. Okay. So there's that. I think they're like, we need some ready-made plug and play guys at these various spots. We're thin at these positions, whatever due to graduation or because you've had your own portal entries and all that. However, I think that they would tell you too, and Joey has said this publicly, that if there's just a no-brainer and we have a connection to him, I don't care what position he plays, we will make a run. We will try to see if we can't make something happen there.
Yeah.
If it's something that just kind of is staring you in the face and all that. Now, are you on the hunt to go if there was a quarterback out there that maybe had a connection to you? Would that make a lot of sense? Probably not, because you're going to maybe fix one problem and create another with that. But some of these positions where you're multiple guys are playing and all that stuff. I mean, in other words, would you add 2 edge rushers if there was just another one out there? You're like, golly, I kind of like to have both. I mean, I don't think you would stop there if the talent level suggested it, I guess is my point. So, but yeah, it's need, it's budget, it's fit, it's connection. It's all the things, but they won't just all of a sudden go, okay, we're good now. If somebody hopped in there or that there was something that made sense to them that they feel like could get them over the hump. Again, you can't have everybody, and not everybody's going to want to come because it would be hard to take 2 ready-made left tackles. Like, wait, man, I thought I had working this side of the street. Like, what, so you but most other positions are different. Quarterback and, like a left tackle in this case. I mean, but, running back, I mean, could you add 2? Sure. I mean, could you add more than 1 tight end? Sure. I mean, it's just all about talent and fit and budget and all the things. But that's why, in a way, this is maddening, but in a way, it's fun. It's like you're opening up. I don't know. This is like Hanukkah or something where you get to like open up a present every day leading up to Christmas or something. I'm not Jewish or anything, but I mean that's. Or like the Advent calendar when like did you ever have the thing when you were a kid and it's like a little piece of chocolate that you get to like cross off the days of Christmas?
No doubt.
That's what I feel like we're doing. It's like this slow drip that I don't know when Christmas Day is here though. That's the tricky part about there is no signing date. It just kind of blends in off into the future. And I'll probably point to next semester starting, but Cowan, that's like January the 15th or something. So we're just getting started here theoretically, but and still a lot to go. But yeah.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate the time and the insights. Enjoyed it as always. We'll see you for the next one.
Hey, looking forward to it. Appreciate it. Guns up. Hope everybody enjoys the weekend. Keep hope alive and the head on the swivel.
Yes. Thank you for being out there. Thank you for the questions. Keep those coming. And appreciate all the Matador Mobsters, the everydayers, and the entire Locked On Texas Tech fam family for joining us once again. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks for the time, and we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.